That's fast.
Fast?
Gotta go
Why?
slow, man.
Why?
Because we're not Sonic the Hedgehog.
We could do a Sonic the Hedgehog LP. I think that would be exciting.
I don't even know who I would have guesting for Sonic the Hedgehog.
We gotta pick it up after the Game Grumps cowered it out.
Man. Sonic 06, that would, oof. So now that we've
fallen asleep. And we're getting a dream.
Oh.
So it's nice how the developer has like predicted that we're gonna sleep here and have a cutscene presented to us.
Huh. Okay, because this is probably something you can just completely miss, isn't it?
Maybe. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, maybe it's expected that you would take a nap there.
Yeah, it's expected that the player is going to be like me, in which I'm going to lodge anywhere as long as it's free, or a player like you, where they want to keep their party members alive. Anyway, this is obviously a flashback for Ara when she was much younger. And her father, I guess, is this thing named Axis.
I wonder if that's literal or not.
What? Well, I'm not sure if it's like biologically or not. But at least to my knowledge, he raised Ara as a father.
Sure.
I'm not even sure if our character is even human.
We've found a place to sleep. Now we need to continue.
Now, time to abuse it for the rest of the game, or at least as long as I can.
Well,
if I'm not going to be using potions, I'm going to go back and forth to this village whenever I need healing.
God, please don't. Unless you like cut all of the travel time out.
If I do that, I think maybe I did cut the travel time. I'm not sure.
Why? Why would you not just use potions?
Because I have a lot of time on my hands. Well, that's exactly what I did with the last JRPG that I've played, which was Tokyo Mirage Sessions, if you're familiar with that game.
I haven't played it, but you know,
you're at least aware of of it. So as soon as there was a place in town where it's just like a light, like a ball of light that you touch and it fully heals your party. I can just spend like a minute of travel time to just go there for free, or I could spend money on potions.
Good lord, man.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I'm not a teenager anymore or anything, but like...
Oh, neither am I, but like...
I don't have the time for that in games anymore. Like, no.
Well, if it's a JRPG, you're expected to be playing it for tens of hours anyway. What's a few minutes gonna do?
Add on another, like, 5 hours of total playtime.
Well, to be fair, I think it only really added, like... I don't know, like 20 to 30 minutes, like in total, like going back and forth. It was a 65-hour RPG, so it didn't really, it didn't make much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, this is a specialist shop. You gather plants and stuff, mix it into potions, and then it's usually much stronger than your normal potions.
Look at all these potions that you would never use if you made them anyway.
I actually do use them at some point. I definitely use these types of things. I don't know if it's those specific potions.
You're actually
and besides, crafting materials doesn't necessarily equal currency. I can spend crafting materials if I have them.
So you're not actually going to be so stingy that you don't use buffing items on like boss fights and stuff?
Yeah, I'll probably be doing that. Actually, this does have permanent stat increases, not like, you know, increase attack for 3 turns, you know, crap like that.
Right.
And since it does, I'll be using those quite a lot.
Okay.
In the very late game, we're nowhere near that stage yet, because the game hasn't necessarily been too difficult. And at least to my knowledge, I don't think RPG Maker has like a difficulty settings like template. We're just
well, it didn't have any.
Stuck with whatever stats the developer wants to fight.
Yeah, it didn't have any difficulty options. That's for sure.
Yeah, the difficulty options for for JRPGs has been like a bit disappointing sometimes, because all it really does is increase the amount of damage enemies do and decrease the amount of damage you do, or one or the other.
I mean, that,
and it could be expanded upon by quite a bit.
That tends to be the way the difficulty settings work in most games.
Yeah, but I feel like it would be easier to make it more interesting in turn-based RPGs. Like, you could lock certain attacks enemies do in certain difficulty levels, or
like make sure that enemies that have spells actually use them.
Yeah.
Like if an enemy knows that you're like one of your characters is weak to an element and they can use that element, actually have them use that element. Ways of making the enemies more competent rather than just buffing their numbers.
Yeah, that's yeah, going back to Tokyo Mirage Sessions, or really any Persona game, because that's it. Tokyo Mirage Sessions is
basically
like it's pseudo Persona. It's not necessarily Persona, but it has
not Sona.
Not Sona, yeah. Yeah, it has you know, it does its elemental affinities to the point where it could be completely nullified even for bosses, and yeah, it sometimes does that in that game, where a boss would just, I'm gonna attack you, oh, it did no damage. Okay, that's very threatening for a boss. Normal enemies I can forgive, but bosses, like, come on.
Did the Mimics skin themselves to make throw rugs? Is that what we were just walking over?
What? I wasn't paying attention. You mean in the overworld?
No, just in the map that we're exploring right now. It looked like we were just walking over a pelt of like an old one of these guys or something.
Well, you know, maybe that's part of the culture. If you get old and withered, like, you can't go to waste.
Jeez, that'd be horrifying.
Use it for warmth or decoration. I don't know.
I mean,
Hey, is it no different from like getting cremated and putting your ashes in a vase, like, and just putting it on a shelf?
It's significantly different, because it would be like if you skinned a dead person and put their skin on your floor.
Well, if their skin is good.
I don't think anybody's skin stays that good after.
Well, we're talking about pelts here. Pelts tend to be good. Okay, what if, like, a dead person's got turned into a wig? Would people use it? I think so.
I mean,
if they had a good head of hair, then I don't think that should go to waste.
I mean, that's not really any different than just donating hair anyway. Again, that's kind of different from skinning a person and having their skin just as a throw rug.
We are talking. Well, we're not talking about humans here. We're talking about creatures of the forest.
But could you imagine, like, God, like you just walk into someone's house and you just see the skin
like
of
a taxidermied relative,
a person just on the floor greeting you in the entryway. I think I would just leave.
Would that be legal?
To leave? Yeah.
No. To if it was like had their consent, hey, you can use my body as a.
I mean,
as a rug.
Presumably, in this hypothetical world, it would be. As far as the real world,
an organ donor.
Well,
if they're an organ donor and they wrote in their will, you can do this. Is that legal?
I think it's in a nebulous area that you probably don't want to actually.
The law hasn't caught up with today's times.
Because how do you
There
verify?
hasn't been enough case scenarios.
Well, how do you verify that it's legitimate? You know?
Video evidence.
No, oh man.
You can record yourself say this.
you would literally just have to have that on hand at all times whenever anybody comes to your house. Like,
yeah. Okay, I see the pelt. No, I think that's one of the goat things.
Too much effort, not enough payout, if you ask me.
Yeah, like that's that's way bigger than these cobalt things.
I don't know, man.
Looks more like a lion.
Maybe they get lion-like in their old age.
Well, I think that's one of the goat things you fight in the overworld.
Maybe, but I don't know. Whoa. Some of these guys have some multi-hit attacks.
Yeah, how these enemies are balanced. As long as like you essentially you can memorize the stances enemies take. Unfortunately, there's no like bestiary where you can here's the enemy and this is
that's a shame.
the attacks they do. This is it would have been really helpful, especially for this game where there's different elemental affinities for the same enemy, and like here's their stances and what they can do and stuff like that. Which is a misstep because I think I have seen RPG Maker games that do have bestiaries. But you really just have to memorize with it. However, there are things that do make sense. For example, you're gonna find enemies that have like their mouths open, and it clearly means that they're gonna attack next turn. But it also means that they're vulnerable to higher damage.
Sure.
Which can't be said for a lot of elemental affinities that some enemies in Persona has, where it's like, okay, how about fire? Nope, it's normal. Okay, how about ice? No, it's resist. Electric? Nope, that's normal. Okay, wind. Okay, that does damage. Okay, I'll keep using wind.
That's why you have the scan mechanic.
Which you don't get immediately.
Well, doesn't take that long usually.
No, but at that point, if you could just use the scan mechanic, then what's the point of even like obscuring that at first anyway?
I don't know, really. I would not hate it if they didn't obscure the weaknesses and resistances and everything.
This idol thing. So I don't know if you realize, but like once you defeat an enemy, then they're gone from the overworld. Like you don't have to refight them; they don't respawn.
Yeah.
Unless you activate this thing, in which every time you transition to a different section, then they do respawn, just in case you want to grind or not.
Huh.
And that's really that's smart. Yeah. I like that.
That's interesting.
Because I like to feel a sense of completion when I go through an area, once I kill an enemy, I want them dead. However, I understand the need for grinding sometimes, so if it's an opt-in thing.
Yeah.
If you want to do that or not. So, this option is there. So that's really nice.
That's interesting.
Again, this is probably the only JRPG that does that. It's very weird how, weird, and also it's very good how it it addresses some concerns, at least I have, with how certain JRPGs go about things.
Yeah. You would think, but I guess that is kind of the difference with all of them using random encounters in the first place, though.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, we'll just have a whole bunch of random encounters, and that's fine.
Yeah, I've certainly learned a lot of like lessons or like techniques or approaches is probably the best word for it, on how to do a JRPG that I would want to make.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is how this does this. I'm gonna steal that.
It's not stealing if you're...
It's flattery. It's basically what it is.
Yeah. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And all that.
Yeah, that's and you know, especially after playing Tokyo Mirage Sessions, it's like it also does like a lot of things I really like. And yeah, that for example, like one of my main things that I don't really understand with JRPGs. Well, first one being characters can die in cutscenes, but not in battle.
Why are we just standing here?
I don't know.
You left it recording while you were away from the computer, didn't you?
I don't remember. I really don't. The music is still going.
I'm gonna say that's probably what happened, is that you left the computer for one reason or another and didn't pause the recording or anything. I've woken up.
I've had too many instances where it's like just too much of a hassle. Also, buying batteries, like, come on. I think I'm as stingy in real life as I am in JRPGs.
The Game Boy Advance.
That was like
back in the day.
That was my main usage of batteries, is using Game Boy Advance.
Why? Man.
What?
You messed up somewhere.
I think I did. I think I was supposed to cut, like, how many minutes was that? 10?
Too many.
Oh, well, we'll find out eventually.
Anyway, we're back.
It's as if nothing happened.
Yeah. Man, now that we're back from that alternate reality too, let's continue.
These videos tend to be podcasts anyway.
Yeah, there's a significant difference in the way that LPs run with you as compared to with Spencer.
How so?
Oh, he's very concerned about paying attention to the game at all times.
Well, that's because... Okay, well, how many months was it before you recorded Silent Hill 2 and when you actually started doing the audio?
6. Well...
Okay, that's longer than I thought, but still, that's less than 10.
Before we finished it, at least.
It's still less than myself.
To be fair, you not remembering the way that the story goes is all the reason for, like, you to pay more attention to the story segments.
Well, I said it before, but, like, this is early game stuff. Like, no one remembers what happens in the early game of JRPGs.
I remember everything.
This is really chapter 1.
Actually, to be honest, like, the opening segment of Final Fantasy VII is probably the most memorable part of
true.
The majority of the game. Like,
yeah,
all of the exploring that you do in Midgar is vast, like, leaves much more of an impression than going through a large part of the rest of the world map.
Oh, the plot in FS7 like starts off like immediately and it's like kind of fast.
Yeah.
To begin with. But in this case, we only have 2 party members. Like, this is a super early game. At this point in time, FS7 is like 4.
Yeah, well, you start out with 3. You get...
Or, do you start with 3 or... I thought you only get Barrett.
Well, yeah, you start at the very beginning with Barrett. By the time you're like 2 hours in, you would have Tifa. And then shortly after that, you get Aerith.
Okay, yeah, so I think at this point in time, we'd have Aerith.
But the corollary to that is that you don't have Aerith in the party with you at the same time as you have Barrett and Tifa at the start of the game. Because Cloud gets separated from the rest of them.